He kicked me out and threw $75 at me. I used it to win a $15 million jackpot, and now he wants half. Get out. Take this and never come back. You're worthless to me now. Those were the venomous words her husband screamed at her as he threw crumpled bills at her feet, like she was a beggar on the street. Instead of protecting her during her most vulnerable moment, he threw her into the cold night with nothing but contempt. Instead of honoring the vows he made, he gave her humiliation and abandonment when she needed him most. He thought he had rid himself of a burden, believed he was free to live his life with someone new, someone better. But what he never imagined was that the same woman he discarded as worthless would rise in ways that would shake his world to its foundation. A transformation that would expose not just his greed, but the true character of everyone who betrayed her. Sometimes the ones you discard return with power you can't comprehend. Sometimes the woman you thought would disappear becomes the one who owns her destiny. This is the story of a woman thrown away like garbage, who turned her last dollars into a fortune and her pain into unbreakable strength. Hello, family. Welcome back. Before we begin, I have a heartfelt request. Please subscribe. Your support keeps these stories alive and helps us share voices that deserve to be heard. Let us know in the comments where you're watching from and how this story touched you. Naomi Adebayo stood in the middle of the living room of their apartment in Johannesburg, South Africa, her hands trembling. She wore only an old sweater and jeans. Her shoes were still damp from checking the mail earlier. The envelope she'd found lay unopened on the kitchen counter. Her husband of 10 years, Thabo Adebayo, stood a few feet away, his face twisted with rage, his voice loud enough for the entire building to hear. I'm finished, Naomi. Thabo's voice cracked with fury. I've carried you for far too long. I pay the bills, I keep this roof over our heads, while you just sit here doing nothing. Naomi stared at him in disbelief, her voice shaking. Doing nothing? I quit my job to take care of your mother for 3 years, Thabo. 3 years. I cooked for her, bathed her, gave her medication when you refused to be there. I was there every single day. Yeah, and now she's gone, he snapped, his eyes like ice. So, what exactly are you contributing now? You're dead weight. I can't afford to keep you around anymore. Naomi's throat tightened. Keep me around? Is that what I am to you? A burden you're tired of carrying? Thabo turned away, pacing toward the window. He kept glancing at his phone on the counter as if waiting for something important. Look, he said flatly, you've had it easy for too long. It's time you learned to stand on your own feet. I'm not your bank, Naomi. Her stomach nodded. Something about his behavior felt rehearsed, calculated. She looked at the phone. He kept checking obsessively. Who's messaging you? She asked, her voice low and careful. What? Thabo's jaw clenched. Who's texting you? Naomi repeated. Is that what this is really about? Thabo didn't answer. He grabbed the phone and shoved it into his pocket. Don't change the subject, he said coldly. Naomi stepped forward, her heart pounding. Let me see it. You're not touching my phone. Let me see it, Thabo. For a moment, he stood frozen, his jaw tight. Then he laughed, a short, cruel sound that made her skin crawl. Fine, he said, pulling the phone back out and tossing it toward her. You want to see? Go ahead. She caught it. The screen was still lit, showing a message thread with a contact saved as L. Her hands shook as she read. Can't wait to see you tonight, baby. I've missed you so much. Soon, my love. She's still here, but not for long. Naomi's vision blurred. She scrolled up, reading months of messages, sweet words, promises, photos, plans they'd made behind her back. 8 months of betrayal laid bare in her trembling hands. When she finally looked up, Thabo didn't even look guilty. You've been with someone else, she whispered. Yeah, he said, shrugging like it was nothing. Lindive doesn't nag. She's fun. She doesn't make me feel trapped. Naomi felt her knees weaken. Trapped? You told me you loved me. You said we'd build a life together. That was before you turned into this miserable, exhausting person, he said coldly. Always tired, always complaining. Lindayo makes me feel alive. The words hit her like physical blows. You're ending our marriage for her? Naomi's voice broke. I'm ending it because I'm done, Tabo said. He walked to the coat rack, grabbed her jacket, and threw it on the couch. Get your things and leave. She blinked at him, unable to believe what she was hearing. You're kicking me out? Right now? In the middle of the night? Why not? He said coldly. You've got family. Figure it out. My family lives in Cape Town, she said, her voice breaking. I have nowhere to go tonight. Not my problem, he said without emotion. The sound of rain outside grew louder, matching the pounding in her chest. She stood frozen, unsure whether to beg him or scream. Tabo walked into their bedroom and started pulling her clothes from the closet. One by one, he threw them onto the living room floor, dresses, sweaters, jeans, all landing in a heap near the door as rain blew in from the half-open entrance. Tabo, stop, she pleaded. You don't have to do this. Oh, I do, he said, grabbing her shoes and tossing them onto the pile. I'm not wasting another day on this farce. When the closet was empty, he went to the dresser, yanked open drawers, and dumped everything into a duffel bag. He shoved the bag toward her and walked to the kitchen counter. She watched as he opened his wallet, pulled out several bills, and threw them at her feet. There, he said, his tone dripping with sarcasm. 75 rand. Consider it a head start on your new life. You're worth about that much anyway. The bills landed in a small puddle by the doorway. Naomi stared at them, her chest aching, but her eyes were dry now. The moment you realize the person you loved has become a stranger, it doesn't bring tears. It brings clarity. She bent down, picked up the bills, and shoved them into her pocket. Without looking at him, she grabbed the duffel bag, slung it over her shoulder, and stepped out into the storm. The rain was icy against her face. Her shoes sank into the water rushing along the curb. Behind her, the door slammed shut with finality. She walked without a plan, her bag dragging across the wet pavement. Street lights reflected in the puddles, blurring through the rain. By the time she reached the corner, she was shivering. She turned around once, just in time to see the curtains in their living room shift. A shadow moved inside. She knew it was Tabo, watching her leave, making sure she didn't come back. She didn't give him the satisfaction of stopping. She kept walking. It was nearly midnight when Naomi reached a petrol station. The neon lights buzzed above her, reflecting off the wet ground. She stepped inside, grateful for the warmth. The cashier, a middle-aged man with kind eyes, glanced at her soaked clothes. Are you all right, miss? Naomi managed a weak smile. Just a long night. She bought a bottle of water and asked if there was a guest house nearby. The man pointed across the street. Budget lodge. Not fancy, but it's dry. She thanked him, crossed the street, and stepped into the small lobby. The smell of disinfectant and stale coffee hit her immediately. A young woman behind the desk looked up from her phone. Rooms are 50 for the night. Naomi hesitated, then pulled the crumpled R75 from her pocket. She handed it over, watching most of it disappear as the woman counted change back into her hand. Her room was small, with faded curtains and a bedspread patterned with strange flowers. She dropped her bag on the bed and sat down, staring at the remaining R25 in her palm. It wasn't much, but it was something. She thought about Tabo, his smirk, the way he didn't flinch when she found out about Lindayo. She thought about how easily he'd thrown her away, like she was furniture he didn't need anymore. For a long time, she sat in silence, listening to the rain tap against the window. She didn't know what tomorrow would bring. But one thing was certain, she was never going back to that apartment or to him. Not ever. Morning crept in slowly. The rain had stopped, but Johannesburg's sky looked heavy and gray. Naomi woke on the rough motel sheets, her face stiff from dried tears. For a second, she forgot where she was. Then she saw the faded curtains and remembered everything. She sat up and checked her phone. No new messages. No apologies from Tabo. Nothing. Just silence. Her stomach growled. She opened her palm and looked at the money left from last night. R25. That was it. She did the math quickly. R15 could stretch if she skipped lunch. R10 could buy noodles. She could call her sister in Cape Town and ask to stay for a while. But pride rose up like a wall. Not yet. Not like this. She washed her face in the small bathroom sink and stared at the cracked mirror. You'll be okay, she told her reflection. You don't have to be, but you will. The motel coffee was free. It tasted terrible, but it warmed her hands. She pulled on her jacket and walked back to the petrol station. Inside, the same cashier from last night looked up. His name tag said Sifo. Rough weather, he said gently. Yeah. Naomi tried to sound casual. She grabbed 2 packets of instant noodles and a small package of crackers. Standing in line, she noticed the lottery ticket display at the counter. Bright colors, numbers that promised everything and nothing. She'd never played. Her mother used to call it a tax on hope. But then Tabo's voice echoed in her head. You're worth about that much. A thought burned through the fog in her mind. Make that R75 matter. Is the lotto still open? She asked. Sifo nodded. Drawings Wednesday. Jackpot's big this week. How big? He shrugged. R15 million. R15 million. The number felt impossible. R15 million meant security. It meant never having to ask for a place to sleep. It meant never hearing dead weight again. She picked up a play slip and stared at it. Choose 6 numbers. Her mind went blank. She could do a quick pick, but something tugged at her. She wrote down 08, August, the month she and Tabo got married. 15, the day they met. 21, she was 21 when they fell in love. 32, their house number. 03, 3 years she spent caring for his mother. Her hand hovered over the last number. She thought of everything she'd lost, everything she'd endured. 19 because she felt 19 again, young, scared, but starting over. Quick pick, Sifo asked. No, she said quietly. These are mine. He printed the ticket. The paper felt thin, like it could disappear in the wind. She tucked it carefully into her wallet where a photo of her and Tabo used to be. Back at the motel, Naomi ate her noodles slowly and tried to plan. She needed a job. She had experience in administration and customer service. She could do that. She could do anything if someone gave her a chance. She opened her old laptop and started sending applications. She wrote careful cover letters. She pressed send and waited for the whoosh sound that meant her emails were flying somewhere better. 2 days passed slowly. She stretched her money by skipping meals. She cleaned her room obsessively. She lined up her shoes like she had more than one pair. Then she took the lottery ticket out again. It stared back at her with those simple printed numbers, plain as a receipt. This is stupid, she told herself. Don't count on it. But hope had already slipped in, quiet but stubborn. Wednesday night arrived like a dare.
Happy hi bestie. If you enjoyed this story so far, don't forget to like and subscribe and comment where you are watching from. Enjoy!
The motel TV was mounted near the ceiling. The remote had tape holding the batteries in. She flipped through channels until she found the news. Laughter from the next room bled through the thin walls. Somewhere down the hall, a baby cried. The drawing started. Her hands went cold. She pulled the ticket from her wallet and flattened it on the bed. The announcer smiled too much. The music was cheerful and detached. The first ball rolled into view. 8, the announcer said. Naomi stared. Her eyes jumped to the ticket. 08. Her chest rose. Okay, she whispered. That's 1. The second ball appeared. 15. Her fingers tightened around the paper. 15. She didn't breathe. She didn't blink. The third ball. 21. She laughed, a shocked, scared sound, then cover her mouth. 21. 3 numbers. 3. The fourth ball. 32. She stood up without meaning to. The bed squeaked. 32. Her knees felt weak. She grabbed the back of a chair to steady herself. The fifth ball. 3. She whispered it along with the voice. 03. 5 numbers.
5. Her ears rang.
The room blurred. She forced herself to look at the screen for the bonus ball. The camera zoomed in. The ball spun nervously. 19. Silence flooded her head. She closed her eyes. Opened them again. The screen still said 19. She checked the ticket, tracing each number with her finger like a child sounding out a word. 08-15-21-32-03-19. She checked the screen. She checked the ticket again. She pinched her arm. She slapped her cheek lightly. Then she laughed, wild and breathless. Then she cried. She sat on the edge of the bed, trembling. The ticket shook in her hands. Our 15 million. After taxes, it would be less. But it would still be more money than she'd ever seen. More than her whole family had ever seen at once. She thought of her mother's phrase, a tax on hope, and felt something warm and fierce rise up. Not tonight, she whispered. Not me. Naomi needed to be smart. She needed proof she wasn't dreaming. She grabbed her phone and searched South Africa lottery claim process. The page loaded slowly. She read carefully. Sign the back of the ticket. Don't share photos online. Secure it somewhere safe. Consider a lawyer and financial advisor before claiming. She found a pen and signed the back. Her handwriting shook so badly, it looked like someone else's. She slid the ticket into an envelope, then into a plastic bag, then into another envelope. She tucked it into her bra because there was nowhere safer. Her phone buzzed, a message from an unknown number. Naomi, it's Bongani from the office. Heard about you and Tabo. You okay? She stared at it, surprised by unexpected kindness. Bongani had been her supervisor before she quit to care for Tabo's mother. He was strict but fair. I'm figuring it out. Thanks for checking. If you need a reference or anything, I got you.
Her eyes stung.
Thank you. Really? She didn't tell him about the ticket. Not him, not anyone. She put her phone on airplane mode and barely slept. At 9 a.m., Naomi walked to a nearby bank and rented a small safety deposit box. The clerk asked no questions. She slipped the envelope inside, shut the metal door, and exhaled. In the lobby, her legs went weak with relief. How do you change your whole life without letting it change you?
She didn't know, but she knew what she didn't want.
She didn't want Tabo's voice in her head. She didn't want fear. She didn't want to become bitter. She wanted to be herself again, the woman who helped neighbors, who sang off-key on purpose to make people laugh. She called a law office she found online with good reviews. I need advice on claiming a lottery prize, Naomi said, trying to sound confident. Of course. We can schedule a consultation for this afternoon. At 3 p.m., Naomi met attorney Thandai Nkosi in a tidy office that smelled like paper and lemon. Thandai had warm eyes and a crisp blazer. She listened without interrupting as Naomi told the story, from the rain to the numbers, to the safety deposit box. When did your husband ask you to leave? Thandai asked. Monday night. He threw my clothes out and gave me our 75. And you bought the ticket Tuesday morning? Yes. Thandai nodded, satisfied. So you were separated before the purchase. That matters. In South African law, assets acquired after separation aren't automatically marital property. Relief washed over Naomi. We'll handle the claim carefully, Thandai continued. You can remain anonymous through a trust. No social posts. No new car for a while. Move quietly. Understand? Yes, Naomi said. The word felt like a vow. They went through details, taxes, lump sum versus annuity, risks, charity options. At the end, Thandai leaned forward. One more thing. Money brings out people you didn't know existed. Be careful. Naomi understood exactly what that meant. She saw Tabo's face in her mind. I won't tell him, she said firmly. I won't tell anyone.
Good.
We'll file the claim Friday. Friday came with a clear blue sky. Naomi met Thandai downtown. They signed papers and set up a trust with a neutral name, Horizon Trust. The claims office processed her paperwork quietly. No photos, no giant checks. Just signatures and rules. Remember, Thandai said as they left, you're invisible for now. New number, new address. No social media. I understand, Naomi said. She bought a basic prepaid phone and gave the number only to Thandai and the bank. She moved into a small one-bedroom flat on the outskirts of Johannesburg. The building was quiet with laundry that smelled like soap. She paid 6 months rent up front through the trust so her name wouldn't appear anywhere public. For the first week, she walked everywhere or took the bus. On day 8, Thandai cleared her to buy a used car in cash, a simple gray sedan with a few scratches. No one looked twice at it.
She liked that.
She cooked simple meals. She slept. She cried in the shower until her face felt calm. She sent anonymous donations to women's shelters. She signed up to volunteer, using only her first name. On a Saturday, she stood in a shelter kitchen chopping vegetables with women who moved like they'd done this together forever. A radio played softly. A little girl colored at a corner table. "You okay, Naomi?" A volunteer named Zanil asked. "Yeah," Naomi said. "I am." And she was. Not perfect, not healed, but okay in a way that felt real. Good luck never arrives alone. It brings shadows. Late one afternoon, Thandai called. "We may have a leak," she said calmly. Naomi's stomach dropped.
How?
A local news station ran a story. Mystery Horizon Trust claims our 15 million jackpot. Sources say winner stayed at Budget Lodge. They didn't name you, but it's sloppy. The motel, Naomi said.
Yes.
Could be the clerk, a housekeeper, the petrol station cashier. Gossip travels fast. What do I do? Nothing different. Stay low. Don't confirm anything. And Naomi, if Tabo calls, do not answer. I won't. That night, Naomi pulled into her parking lot and froze. A black BMW idled at the curb. The driver's window rolled down. Tabo leaned across the seat and smiled like they were old friends. "Hey, Naomi." Her first instinct was to run. Her second was to stand tall. She chose the second. She parked, stepped out, and locked her car with a beep. "What do you want?" she said evenly. He got out too. New suit, polished shoes that looked expensive and wrong on him. "I just want to talk," he said smoothly. "We had a rough patch. Emotions got high." "Throwing me out in a storm wasn't a rough patch," she said coldly. "It was abuse." He winced, then smoothed it over. "Don't use words like that. You know I was under stress. Mom had just passed. You told me I was dead weight. You threw our 75 at me like I was trash." He laughed sharply. "Our 75?
Come on.
I gave you cash to help. And it worked out great for you, didn't it?" She went still. He was fishing. He wanted her to confirm it. "I don't know what you're talking about," she said. He stepped closer. "Nice place. New car. Horizon Trust, cute name. You were never good at keeping secrets."
Hi bestie, kunyafu hivi kumeshawa uruang. If you enjoyed the story so far, don't forget to like and subscribe for part 2. Comment where you are watching from and I will reply with my favorite emoji. Thank you.